on, everyone? Gilman with Live Wealthy, back with another video taking a look at Apple stock and how it traded throughout the course of the day. So real quick, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoy them, and comment down below whether you're in Apple, as it really helps us out as we're trying to grow this channel with new subscribers and likes in the video. So we hope you can do that. But taking a look at the Apple chart, if we take a look at the one-day chart, so overall it wasn't a great day for the markets. Overnight we found out that Trump was positive for COVID-19, which is just not great news for your president to be coming down with COVID. He has some mild symptoms according to what the news sources have said, but that really made the market gap down. Dow futures fell, and we opened up a lot lower than we had closed. So Apple went from 117 at closing all the way down to 112. Now, I had mentioned previously again that I personally thought that at the 117 level we had a little bit of, we could push up before we got to the opening for the day before. So Thursday's opening price of 117.78, I believe it was, and then we had some more resistance at 118. So while I sort of saw that we could have fallen because the next support was at 113, that was pretty strong support that we had tested a couple times. There was a little bit of upside, in my opinion, until we broke that, and then we had newer highs, but a lot of downside, and I made a trade accordingly yesterday that we can go over in a little bit. But taking a look at today's chart, so we gap down, we try to push up, so we open around 112.22, we try to push up, could make it to 115, and then we sort of started fading again, and at that point Apple struggled to break through VWAP, which is definitely not a good sign. Tried coming up, fell, came up, fell, tried to hit it again, and then fell, and then ended the day down. So overall we were down $3.77, which is 3.23%, and then dropping another 0.44%. So almost 4%, 400 basis points was our drop for the day. Now, one interesting thing to sort of look at is if we take a look at the one-day chart for SPY. SPY fell, but then felt like it was bought up a lot easier than Apple. Right, so if you remember Apple's chart, we had this, then we had this fall, but then SPY seemed to recover, doing decent, and then Dow was only down 134 points, which is 0.5%. But when we take a look at NASDAQ, right, the tech sector basically is what drives the NASDAQ. If we take a look at this, right, we have a gap down, but we don't have a push up, right? Once this downfall happened, we don't really see it pushing up, right? Taking a look at Dow, once we drop, we came right back up. SPY, we dropped, we came up. NASDAQ, we didn't really see that, right? So NASDAQ was weaker than SPY, was weaker than Dow. But if we take a look at even NASDAQ, which was down 2.22%, Apple was down percent more than that, and then we've also fallen after hours. Now I'm making this video at 4:30 Central Time, so it could go up, it could go down. After hours is always a little bit, it moves around a lot, and the spreads are really high, so it's not really always accurate, but just goes to show you that there is relative weakness. So previously what we had established was that Apple was moving from a lower high, lower low to a higher high, higher low. And before I'd only drawn sort of this bottom because I was looking to make sure that we made higher lows every day. And today's kind of candle comes below that line that I had drawn because we did not set a new high and we did set a new low, which could signal something bad for Apple. Now, I don't necessarily think that the trend is over, right? Because this was such a large drop due to something that, unless you're in the Secret Service or the president or you knew something was bad somehow, right? Like no one saw this diagnosis, just randomly coming at us like that overnight. So, if I were to draw this right here, right, using the baseline of today's low as the new sort of trend line low, if you will, and then I draw kind of this chart over here, I personally think that, you know, next week being the week that we hear about the iPhone, and then the following week we get the news, or the iPhone reveal itself, and then iPhone coming out in stores. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement around Apple, at least for the short term. That should help push the stock up a little bit, you know, pending other market factors, right? So what happens over the weekend? We are still waiting on the stimulus bill. That hasn't gotten anywhere past the House, but it's probably getting stalled at this point. And then, you know, stuff like you know, Apple's iPhone release, Amazon's Prime Day, I think those things can really help us push upwards. So I'll keep these lines here for now, and we can sort of you know, try and see what, or we can keep track and see if Apple breaks out of that. But taking a look at some of the indicators, so I want to focus on a lot of the indicators in terms of the EMAs, right, the exponential moving averages that we always look at on the daily chart. So we have, it looks like, a lot of support in the 113s, right? So we've got the 34 EMA at 113.40, the 8 EMA at 113.69, and the 21 EMA at 114. So we have a lot of sort of lines to look out for, a lot of points to look out for between the 113s, the mid 113s to 114, which I personally thought that, you know, Apple was doing a really good job. If I go back to the daily chart, right, if we draw a horizontal line at 113, what we see here is that, you know, it was doing a really good job of sort of holding that. We visited it once, we went a little bit below, but then came right back up, and then towards the end we were going towards it. We didn't really get a chance to break it. It looks like aftermarket it is going down. It's at 112.36. Now I kind of want to see where we open on Monday, because that'll determine whether or not that 113 support's really broken. Because if the 113 support breaks, then I think we can see the 110s as like the next target point from just a technical analysis perspective, and then kind of going back to you know, what are the next sort of support points. So if the 113 is clearly broken, right, and let's say we open up at 112.50 or 112 and we don't push up towards 113, then, you know, I think we could see Apple visiting 110. So we could see potentially some weakness on Monday, depending on, again, how the stock market overall is doing and all that good stuff. But again, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll probably hear about the iPhone event, so that'll drive the stock up. So I'm not super worried about Apple. Again, as long as those catalysts do happen, and again, I'm talking about the short term, while those catalysts happen, I think we should see some positive results come out of those. And then some other indicators in terms of the moving averages. So we've got the 20, 50, and 200-day moving average. So the 20-day moving average is 113.05, which is kind of around where we ended. The 50-day moving average is 113.78, and the 200-day daily moving average is all the way down at 86. So we've got a while to go, but I don't think we fall that much. I think the next point to look out for is whether we can continue using that 113 as support, or if the stock can, you know, push up towards that, or some of the EMAs we mentioned in the mid 113s to 114 level. If we are able to push to that, I think we can hold those levels. If not, if we break 113 and make no push towards it, or we make a push towards it but we get rejected and go down, then, you know, we could go closer to the 110s. Again, this is for Monday only. I think once the iPhone release and stuff comes out, it should be a different story. Now, I mentioned yesterday that, you know, I'm taking a look at the stock, and we closed out in the 117s right here, and the high for that day was 117.72. And then if you want to watch that video, I also kind of take us back to where the 118 levels were resistance, tracing all the way back to early September, not February. But so taking a look at that, what I did was I took on a trade, and I just have a screenshot here. So initially, when I was making this video, or before I was making the video, since I made the video after hours yesterday, I had taken on a call position. So I bought the 116.25 calls expiring next Friday, right? Giving myself a week to, in case I wanted to hold it. I try not to hold it for too long in this volatile market, but if I did want to hold it. So I bought the calls initially, the 116.25s, and then I, you know, noticed when I was trying to take a look at what the next resistance points are, and I realized that, hey, we have not broken the high of the day yet, right? So I was taking a look at kind of how it was pushing up, breaking VWAP at the end of the day, and I thought that was a bullish sign, so I bought calls. Immediately realized, maybe that isn't such a bullish sign because we have so much resistance coming up. So the upside, right, was very little for me yesterday, but the downside was definitely a lot higher because I talked about us having strong support at 113. I personally thought that, we'd kind of fade a little into Friday. Again, was not expecting this huge drop. Not gonna say I called it, definitely didn't. I don't think anyone called that huge drop because it was event driven, right? It wasn't Apple doing anything about it, it was the market doing not so great. But so I quickly sold that, right? So this October 1st, yesterday, I bought it for 282. I immediately, when I saw that, I put in a put order for the same strike price because it was around the 117s. I bought it for the same strike price for 271. So I bought a call, I bought a put, I immediately sold the call. Thankfully, the stock hadn't moved much. I made $3 on it. Yay, I guess. But I ended up being, not to say I ended up being right, but my whole analysis of we are more likely to fall, that there's a greater downside because we're at 117. I see a lot of resistance at high 117s or 118, but the downside is 113, right? So I ended up buying this put and I sold those puts this morning, right at the very, I don't know exactly where I sold it. I sold it within the first couple minutes of the market opening, but I sold it for like a 60% gain. And that just goes to show you, again, I'm not doing this every day. I'm not saying I called that personally, right? I called a downside, but I was expecting a 10, 15, 20% gain. And as you could see, I only bought one option, whether I was gonna go call or put, because again, these are all kind of based on what I see, right? I'm not gonna bet the house on it. I'm not gonna bet a crazy amount of money on it because with everything going on right now, I don't wanna lose, a crazy amount of money. Not ready to do that yet. But just going to show you that, Apple can move, even if it moves a couple percent, right? I mean, today was a big move, 3% for Apple. But even if we don't move that much, that if you can sort of predict accurately, right, or you think it's going to move in a certain direction, then you can sort of place short-term bets on it. That being said, be careful, make sure you understand what you're doing, make sure that you agree with, if you're looking at my analysis or someone else's analysis, that you understand what they are doing and that you agree with it before you put your money into it. And always, always, always risk management, right? I could have put a lot more money into this, but I purposefully chose not to because I did not have like a super high conviction, right? I just had okay, we can go up a little bit, but we have a lot of down room, so I'm gonna kind of bet against the stock going down. I was expecting it to go down a little bit. It happened to go down a lot because of bad news. But yeah, so I think next week will be really interesting. We could see some continued weakness into the market on Monday if we don't get like some crazy good news over the weekend. But then when we get the iPhone announced, which people are waiting on, I've been waiting on, if you watch my videos from like a week or two ago, I've been talking about the event, but I've been waiting on it. I know a lot of people have too. So we'll see, hopefully some excitement with that. That's all I had for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, please subscribe to the channel, like this video. It really helps me out as I'm trying to grow the channel, and drop a comment down below if you are in Apple or what you think the future for Apple could look like. As always, hope you guys have a good weekend. Let's remember to be a bit better every single day, and until next time.